The crystalline corridors of the Galactic Confederation's Central Command hummed with quiet efficiency as Senior Administrator Quelix reviewed the latest transmission data. The holographic display before him showed a small blue planet in the outer rim of the galaxy, its third celestial body from a yellow star. "Another primitive world requesting contact," muttered his assistant Thymol, tentacles dancing across the control interface. "Standard protocol suggests wait." Quelix's compound eyes focused on the environmental readings. "On the planetary analysis again. The data stream flickered and reformed. Gravity, 9.8 standard units, nearly 3 times Confederation norm. Atmospheric pressure, crushing. Temperature variations, extreme. Catastrophic. Storm systems covering entire continents. The ecosystem readout made Quelix's respiratory slits flutter in distress. "Spy the void," he whispered. "This is a Class 12 death world." The Mel's skin shifted to a pale blue of concern. The inhabitants, they must be desperate. Trapped on such a hostile world, barely surviving. Quelix nodded slowly, his forearms moving across different control panels. The data was clear and terrifying. This planet called Earth was a nightmare of extreme conditions. The gravity alone would crush most civilized beings. The atmospheric pressure was so high, it would kill them in minutes. The temperature swings were massive, from frozen wastelands to burning deserts that could melt metal. "Look at these storm systems," Thymol whispered, pointing at the swirling masses of destruction on the display. "Some of them are larger than entire star systems. How could anything survive in those conditions?" The ecosystem data was even worse. The planet was filled with creatures that seemed designed only to kill. Massive predators with razor-sharp teeth. Tiny organisms that could kill with a single bite. Plants that could poison or trap anything that touched them. Even the microscopic life forms were dangerous. "The poor beings," Quelix said sadly. "They probably live in caves, hiding from their own planet. They must be so scared, so desperate." For help, he brought up the transmission they had received from Earth. It was crude, but showed intelligence. The humans had somehow managed to build basic technology despite their world trying to kill them every day. They had asked for contact with other intelligent life, probably hoping someone would rescue them. "Send word to the diplomatic corps," Quelix decided. "This is a priority mission. These humans need our help immediately." The message went out across the Confederation networks. Within hours, response teams were being assembled. The best diplomats, the most skilled negotiators, and the kindest medical officers all volunteered for the mission. Ambassador Vexhai was chosen to lead the mission. She had 200 years of experience helping primitive species join the galactic community. She was known for her gentle approach and her ability to calm frightened beings. "These humans will need very careful handling," she told her team as they prepared for departure. "They've been fighting for survival since birth. They probably don't trust easily. We must show them that we come in peace." As the medical team prepared. Special equipment to help the humans. Gravity suits to reduce the crushing weight they were used to. Atmospheric processors to give them clean air to breathe. Medical scanners to treat whatever injuries their horrible world had given them. "Must be covered in scars," said Dr. Zenhai, the chief medical officer. "Living on a death world like that, they probably get hurt every day. We need to be ready for anything." The cultural team studied what little they knew about human society. The transmission showed they had cities, though these were probably underground shelters. They had art and music, which proved they were intelligent despite their harsh conditions. "It's amazing they developed culture at all," said Brimtar, the cultural specialist. "Most beings would be too busy surviving to create art. These humans must be very strong spirits." Trade team prepared aid packages. Food that was safe and nutritious. Medicine to treat diseases. Technology to help them build better shelters. Everything a desperate species would need to improve their lives. "You must be careful not to overwhelm them," warned Jolix, the trade negotiator. "They probably have never seen advanced technology. We need to introduce things slowly so we don't scare them." The ship Harmony's light was chosen for the mission. It was designed for first contact situations, with soft lighting and comfortable spaces to put frightened beings at ease. The crew prepared special quarters for the humans. With reduced gravity and clean air, as they prepared to leave, Quelix sent them final instructions. Remember, these beings have survived the impossible. They have lived their entire lives on a world that wants to kill them. They deserve our respect and our help. Be gentle with them. Be patient, and most importantly, show them that they are not alone in the universe anymore. The Harmony's light departed 3 days later, carrying hope and supplies to what they believed was a desperate species trapped on a nightmare world. The crew was ready to offer friendship, aid, and a chance at a better life among the stars. They had no idea what they were really flying toward. The airlock hissed open with a sound that made every member of the Confederation delegation flinch. Through the transparent barrier, they watched as the human delegation prepared to cross over from their vessel to the Harmony's light. Ambassador Vex High had spent the last hour making final preparations, adjusting the environmental controls to what their computers suggested would be comfortable for the humans' reduced gravity, increased atmospheric pressure, and a carefully regulated temperature that wouldn't shock their systems. Remember, she whispered to her team, gentle movements, soft voices, and absolutely no sudden gestures. These beings have been fighting for survival their entire lives. The first human through the airlock was Captain Kim Min-ho, and immediately everything Vex_High thought she knew about the situation crumbled. The man was tall, nearly 2 meters, the broad frame that suggested incredible physical strength. He moved with the fluid confidence of an apex predator, his dark eyes taking in every detail of the Confederation vessel with an alertness that made Vexai's skin crawl. But what unnerved her most was his expression, completely relaxed, even friendly. Ambassador Vex_High, he said, his voice carrying easily through the corridor without any apparent effort. It's an honor to meet you. I'm Minho, and this is my team. Vex_High's throat sac trembled. This was not what she had expected. The human looked like he could crush her with one hand, yet he spoke with the calm confidence of someone attending a pleasant social gathering. The other humans filed through the airlock with the same unsettling combination of physical prowess and casual demeanor. Park So-min, the cultural attach, was a petite woman who nonetheless moved with the same predatory grace. Her smile was warm and genuine, but her eyes missed nothing as she observed the alien ship. Lee Jamin, despite being introduced as a trade representative, had the build of someone who could probably tear through the ship's hull with his bare hands. Dr. Choi. Yuna smiled warmly while unconsciously radiating the kind of focused intensity that suggested she could perform surgery in a battlefield. Please, Vex_High managed, her voice barely steady. We've prepared comfortable quarters for you. The gravity has been reduced to what we hope will be more manageable, and the atmospheric pressure adjusted to help you breathe easier. Minho tilted his head slightly. That's very thoughtful of you, Ambassador. Though I should mention, we're quite comfortable as things are. Actually, this feels rather light to us. Is this normal gravity for your people? Light. Vex_High's respiratory slits fluttered in distress. The current gravity was already nearly twice what most Confederation species considered comfortable. She had reduced it from ship standard, thinking it would still be too heavy for the traumatized survivors from the Deathworld. Yes, she replied weakly. This is normal for us. Dr. Choi nodded with genuine interest. How fascinating. The physiological differences between our species will be very interesting to study. We brought some basic medical equipment in case anyone needed assistance during our talks. She gestured casually toward a container being carried by one of the humans. The ship's sensors were going crazy trying to analyze its contents. Whatever was inside registered as containing enough advanced medical technology to treat an entire starfleet. As they moved through the corridors toward the prepared meeting room, the differences became more obvious. The humans walked with long, easy strides while the Confederation delegation found themselves struggling to keep up. Their breathing was becoming labored from the effort, while the humans continued their conversation without any sign of strain. Your ship is beautiful, Park So-min commented, running her fingers along the bioluminescent wall panels. The organic technology is remarkable. We're still working mostly with mechanical systems back home, though we've had some success with biological computing in extreme environments. Extreme environments? Brimtar asked, his voice faint with exhaustion from trying to match their pace. Yo, you know, Lee, Jamin said with a casual shrug, the usual places. Deep ocean research stations, Arctic bases, orbital facilities around, gas giants. Places where normal equipment doesn't work well. Normal equipment. The humans were describing environments that would kill most civilized beings as places where they put their normal equipment. When they reached a section where the ship's artificial gravity flickered, briefly a minor malfunction that sent several alien crew members scrambling for handholds, the humans simply continued walking and talking as if nothing had happened. We've prepared a presentation about our society, Vex_High said as they entered the conference room. We hope it will help you understand the benefits of joining our peaceful community. The room had been designed with soft lighting and comfortable seating to put the humans at ease. Instead, Vex_High found herself wondering if she should have installed protective barriers. Not because the humans seemed hostile. They were incredibly polite and genuinely interested in learning about Confederation culture. The problem was that everything about them screamed danger to every survival instinct she possessed. The way they moved through space, like they owned it. The way they observed everything with the focused attention of hunters. Casual way they mentioned activities that would be impossible for any sane species to attempt. We're very excited about this opportunity, Minho said, settling into a chair that creaked under his weight. Earth's government has been looking forward to meeting other intelligent species for a long time. As the humans made themselves comfortable, Vex_High realized that her entire understanding of the situation had been completely wrong. These were not desperate survivors seeking rescue from a hostile world. These were the masters of that world, and they had come to visit. The real question was, what did they want? The formal dinner was meant to be a gesture of goodwill, a chance for both species to share their cultures in a relaxed setting. Ambassador Vex_High had consulted with the ship's nutritionist to ensure the meal would be both palatable and safe. For human consumption, the menu featured the finest delicacies from across the Confederation: mild proteins, gentle spices, and beverages that registered as barely above water in terms of chemical complexity. The humans accepted the invitation with enthusiasm that somehow made Vex_High even more nervous. This is wonderful, Park Soman said, as they gathered around the low table in the ship's hospitality suite. We've brought some items from Earth to share as well, if you'd like to try them. Before anyone could respond, Dr. Choi produced a small container from her diplomatic pouch. The ship's sensors immediately began flashing warnings. The contents registered as mildly toxic to most known life forms. These are called peppers, she explained cheerfully. They're a common spice in human cuisine. We use them to add flavor to our food. Lee Jamin nodded enthusiastically. Yuna brought some of the mild ones. Didn't want to overwhelm you with anything too intense. The humans proceeded to sprinkle the substances liberally over their portions of the carefully prepared meal. Within moments, the air in the room began to shimmer with what the environmental systems classified as low-level chemical warfare agents. Is that safe? Zen_High asked, her breathing filters working overtime to process the contaminated air. Oh, absolutely, Minho replied, taking a generous bite of his food. These are quite mild by human standards. Our children eat much spicier food than this at home. The Confederation delegation watched in horrified fascination as the humans consumed their meal with obvious enjoyment. What they were eating should have sent them to the medical bay immediately, but they were treating it like comfort food. This is delicious, Dr. Choi said, referring to the carefully prepared Confederation cuisine, very subtle flavors. The preparation style reminds me of the food we serve to patients in our hospital recovery programs. Hospital food is finest. Cuisine the Confederation had to offer reminded them of what they fed sick people. Vex_High tried to focus on the conversation, but the chemical readings from the humans' food were making her dizzy. Tell us about your home world, she managed to say. What is daily life like on Earth? Oh, it's quite pleasant, Park Soman said between bites of her chemically enhanced meal. Oh, I suppose it might seem a bit intense to other species. We have wonderful variety in our climates and environments. Variety? Brim_Tar asked weakly. Well, we have deserts where the temperature can reach 50 degrees, Li Jimin explained casually. In polar regions, where it drops to -40, mountain ranges that stretch above the clouds, and ocean trenches so deep that the pressure would crush most materials. And people live in these places? Jolix whispered. Oh yes. Dr. Choi nodded cheerfully. Humans are very adaptable. We have cities in the deserts, research stations at the poles, mountain communities, and underwater habitats. It's all quite normal for us. Normal. Living in conditions that would kill most civilized beings was normal for humans. What about your recreational activities? Vex_High asked, hoping for something less terrifying. The humans brightened immediately. Oh, we have lots of fun activities, Park, Soman said. Rock climbing, deep-sea diving, skydiving, mountain hiking, extreme sports. Extreme sports? Zen_High asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Activities that push the limits of human physical capabilities, Minho explained. We jump from aircraft, climb vertical rock faces, surf on dangerous waves, race vehicles at high speeds. It's very exciting. Why would you do such dangerous things? Brim_Tar asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The humans looked genuinely puzzled by the question. Because it's fun, Li Jamin said simply. And it helps us stay in good physical condition. Conversation turned to more serious matters as the meal continued. The trade agreements, territorial boundaries, and the complex politics of the galaxy. The humans listened carefully and asked thoughtful questions that showed they understood strategy and conflict much better than anyone had expected. The Zek_Tar problem, Li Jamin said, referring to an aggressive species that had been contained centuries ago. Have they been quiet recently? They've been contained to their home system, Vex_High explained. The barriers have held for over 300 years. Barriers. Dr. Choi asked with interest. You mean they're still active? Still aggressive? Well, yes, but they can't break through the containment fields. The technology is very advanced. The humans exchanged glances. It was brief, but it carried more threat than an entire fleet of warships. Interesting, Minho said quietly. Earth, we found that aggressive species usually test their boundaries eventually. Prevention tends to work better than containment. Prevention. Vex_High asked, though she was afraid of the answer. Making sure they understand that aggression has consequences. Park Soman explained with a smile that revealed sharp, predatory teeth. The smile was meant to be friendly, but two of the Confederation. Delegates fainted immediately. The humans rushed to help them, showing genuine concern for their well-being. Are they all right? Dr. Choi asked, checking their vital signs. Should we call for medical help? As the evening ended, and the humans prepared to return to their ship, Vex_High realized that everything had changed. These weren't victims seeking rescue. They were apex predators who had just politely informed the Confederation that its security policies were inadequate. The galaxy was about to become a very different place. The third day of negotiations had been progressing smoothly, or as smoothly as possible. When one delegation consisted of apex predators who considered toxic waste a mild seasoning, Ambassador Vex_High had almost begun to relax when the emergency alarms began screaming throughout the Harmony's light. Fire and Engineering Section 7. Captain Moore_High's voice crackled over the comm system. All personnel evacuate immediately. Repeat, all personnel evacuate Section 7. The conference room erupted into controlled chaos as the Confederation delegation activated emergency protocols. Environmental suits materialized from wall compartments, and the soft lighting shifted to harsh red emergency illumination. Honored. Guests, Vex_High said urgently to the human delegation, "We must evacuate you to a secure location immediately. There's been a catastrophic system failure." She turned to find the humans still seated, looking mildly curious, but completely unconcerned. "How serious is it?" Captain Minho asked calmly. "The fire suppression systems have failed," Brim_Tar explained, his voice muffled by his emergency mask. "The temperature in that section is rising rapidly, and there's been a breach in the life support conduits. Anyone caught in there will die within minutes." Dr. Choi frowned. "Are there injured crew members trapped in the area?" 2 engineering technicians, Zen_High confirmed, her breathing apparatus hissing as she spoke. But the rescue teams cannot reach them. The conditions are too dangerous. The temperature is over 400 degrees, the air is toxic, and the floor is collapsing. The humans looked at each other for a brief moment. Then Minho stood up. "Which way to Engineering Section 7? He asked. "You don't understand," Vex_High said desperately. "The heat will kill you instantly. The poisonous gases will burn your lungs. The metal floor is melting. No one can survive in there without full protective gear, and even then it's too dangerous." She stopped talking when she realized the humans were already moving. It's not toward the evacuation routes like everyone else, but toward the emergency equipment. "Lockers, Lee. Grab that medical kit," Minho called over his shoulder. "So, Min, see if they have portable air cleaners." "Yuna, you're with me?" Captain Kim, Vex_High called after him. "You cannot go in there. You will die." Minho paused and looked back at her with what seemed like confusion. "Ambassador, there are people in trouble. We cannot just leave them to die." And with that, the human delegation disappeared into the ship's emergency corridors, moving with the kind of calm efficiency that suggested they had dealt with similar situations many times before. The next 20 minutes were the longest in Vex_High's life. The ship's sensors showed the humans moving through sections that should have been completely uninhabitable. The temperature readings were high enough to melt steel. The air was filled with toxic chemicals that would kill most life forms instantly. The structural damage was so severe that the walls were buckling and the ceiling was falling in pieces. The humans moved through it all like it was just another day at work. "Captain," came Minho's voice over the communication system, clear and steady, despite the chaos around him. "We found the injured crew members. Dr. Choi is treating them now. Lee is working on the air systems, and Soman has the fire control back online." "That's impossible," Captain Moore_High whispered from the bridge. "The fire suppression system was completely destroyed. The damage was too severe to repair. Just needed some creative fixes." Park Soman's voice joined the conversation. "Should work fine now, though you might want to upgrade the heat resistance on these components. They're a bit fragile for this kind of work." Within 10 more minutes, the emergency alarms stopped, screaming. The red lights returned to normal. The humans emerged from the destroyed section, carrying 2 injured crew members between them. Dr. Choi was already treating their injuries, with medical equipment that looked far more advanced than anything in the ship's medical bay. "They'll be fine," she reported to Captain Moore_High. "Some burns and smoke damage to their breathing systems, but nothing serious. I've given them basic treatment, but your medical team should watch them for the next few hours." The rescued crew members were staring at their saviors with complete amazement. They had been certain they were going to die in that burning hell, and these strange aliens had walked into the fire to pull them out. "How?" Zen_High asked weakly. "How did you survive? Conditions that would kill any civilized being?" Lee Jamin shrugged casually. "It wasn't that bad. It reminded me of the steel factories back home. Yeah, the air quality was actually better than most human industrial areas. You have experience with these conditions?" Vex_High asked in disbelief. "Sure," Dr. Choi said cheerfully. "Emergency response is part of basic education on Earth. Everyone learns how to handle fires, toxic environments, structural collapses, radiation exposure. You know, the usual safety training." The usual Captain Moore_High repeated in a faint voice. "Well, you have to," Minho explained reasonably. "Earth can be dangerous. If you can't handle basic emergencies, you don't last very long." The implications hit the Confederation delegation like a physical blow. These beings had just performed what they would consider a nearly impossible rescue mission, and they were treating it like helping someone with a minor problem. "We should probably return to the negotiations, Park," Soman suggested. "We were making good progress on the trade agreements before this interruption." As the humans filed back toward the conference room, chatting casually about the incident, Vex_High found herself completely reconsidering the situation. These weren't desperate survivors seeking help from the galaxy. They were the help that the galaxy desperately needed. The final day of negotiations began with Ambassador Vex_High staring. At a report that had arrived overnight from Confederation Central Command, the document was marked with the highest security classification, and its contents had fundamentally altered her understanding of the situation. Intelligence analysis, human delegation composition, the header read. Below it, the details that had kept her awake all night. Captain Kim Min-ho, former kindergarten teacher, volunteer firefighter, and youth counselor. Selected for diplomatic mission due to his gentle nature and excellent communication skills with diverse groups. Park So-min, elementary school librarian and community mediator, chosen for her patient demeanor and ability to resolve conflicts peacefully. Lee Jae-min, social worker specializing in refugee assistance. Noted for his compassionate approach and skill in helping traumatized individuals. Dr. Choi Yuna, pediatric surgeon and volunteer emergency responder, selected for her calming presence and dedication to helping others. Vex_High's hands shook as she read the final paragraph. Human delegation represents civilian volunteers specifically chosen for their peaceful, nurturing personalities. According to intercepted communications, this assignment was considered easy. Duty by human standards, a chance for their gentlest citizens to make new friends among the stars. These were their gentle citizens, the beings who had walked through fire to save alien lives, who consumed chemical weapons as seasoning, who treated catastrophic emergencies as minor inconveniences. These were the humans selected for being peaceful and kind. What did that say about the rest of their species? The final session began with the humans presenting their formal proposal for joining the Confederation. It was a surprisingly reasonable document. They asked for modest territory, fair trade deals, and showed genuine commitment to peaceful cooperation. "We are honored by your invitation to join the galactic community," Min-ho said, his voice carrying the same warm sincerity that had marked all their interactions. Earth's government is very excited about building positive relationships with all Confederation members. About that, Vex_High interrupted, her voice steadier than she felt. "We have been reviewing our initial assessment, and we believe there may have been some misunderstandings about the situation." The humans looked politely interested. "See," she continued carefully, "when we first analyzed your world, we classified it as a Class 12 death world. We assumed any species that evolved there would be desperate for rescue and protection from the dangers." "That's very kind of you to be concerned," Dr. Choi said warmly. "Though we're quite fond of Earth. It's home, after all. We've learned to work with its challenges." "Yes, well," Vex_High pressed on, "we've come to realize that perhaps our initial offer of basic membership wasn't quite appropriate for your situation. The Confederation would like to propose a different arrangement." She activated the holographic display, showing a new document that had been hastily prepared during the night. "Rather than standard membership, we would like to offer humanity a position as Protectorate Guardians. This role would give you significant independence while providing the Confederation with security consultation services." The humans examined the proposal with interest. It was essentially an offer to become the galaxy's police force, with the authority to handle threats however they saw fit. "This is quite generous," Lee Jae-min said thoughtfully, "but we want to be clear about our capabilities. We're not a military delegation. We're teachers, healthcare workers, and social volunteers. We understand completely," Vex_High assured him quickly. "And that's exactly why we're confident you would be perfect for this role." The irony was not lost on her. They were offering a police job to kindergarten teachers and librarians because those kindergarten teachers and librarians were the most terrifying beings the galaxy had ever encountered. "Park," So-min tilted her head thoughtfully, "what about the Zek_Tar situation you mentioned earlier? If we accepted this position, would dealing with them fall under our responsibilities?" "Only if you felt it was necessary," Vex_High replied immediately. "The Confederation would never presume to tell humans how to handle a security threat. We would simply provide you with the information and let you decide the best course of action." The humans held another of their brief, silent conversations. Finally, Min-ho nodded. "We'll need to discuss this with our government back on Earth, but I think humanity would be honored to serve in this capacity. We've always believed in helping others when we can." The relief in the room was immediate and overwhelming. The Confederation would have the protection of beings who considered walking through molten metal a minor inconvenience, while the humans would have the authority to deal with threats before they became major problems. There is one question, Dr. Choi said, as they prepared to finalize the agreement. Are there any other species like the Zek_Tar that we should be aware of? Any ongoing conflicts or potential threats that might need attention? Vex_High consulted her datapad, scrolling through a list that suddenly seemed much less concerning. Well, there's the Morax hegemony in the Outer Rim, making territorial claims. The Vash_TA collective has been conducting unauthorized biological experiments. And there are persistent reports about the Keth_Mori possibly returning from the dark nebula region. Minho mused, making notes. Sounds like there's quite a bit of work to do. We'll need to prioritize based on the level of threat to innocent civilians. You're not concerned about handling multiple dangerous species? Brim_Tar asked weakly. Why would we be concerned? Park Soman replied with genuine puzzlement. Sounds like people need help. That's what we're here for. As the negotiations concluded, and the humans prepared to return to Earth with their new mandate, Vex_High found herself wondering if the galaxy was ready for what they had just unleashed. The Confederation had been looking for security. They had found it in the form of social workers and children's doctors who happened to be the most dangerous beings in known space. The humans genuinely wanted to help, to protect, to serve. They had no idea that their very existence had just rewritten the balance of galactic power.